toxic. So, what do you think about, do you look at a the historical impact on generation after generation after generation after generation of oppression, abuse, affecting how we behave potentially as black men from a genetic level. Do you believe in that?
I do believe that there is a correlation between that, and there is a book called Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome that goes into depth about that, about how that trauma, like that generational trauma, was passed down from that moment on into our future generations, and that's impacted black men in forcing them to be silent, forcing them to believe that they have to internalize everything, forcing them to believe that they have to be strong all the time because they are the black man, and so it doesn't allow space or room to be vulnerable. It doesn't allow space or room to say that I actually need help, or that it's okay if I have a vulnerable second and I'm I stay home, or I'm struggling with my mental health, or I need to go see a doctor, or and those things are are valid because of the history and the context between America and black people and the medicine.
There's a whole field called, you probably know this, epigenetics.
Right, exactly.
Now, when I was growing up, I'm 48. I'm not sure how old you might be.
32.
32. So, but when I was growing up, we were taught that the genes that you have, first of all, they're going to pretty much dictate your behavior.
Right.
And all the chromosomes that you have, that's all you have. The genes that you have, that's it.
Right.
Now they're known in about the last 15 years, and in epigenetics is that we have tons of genetic expressions that can define our behavior.
Right.
But outside circumstances can affect those genetic expressions.
Absolutely.
One of the things that I talk about, and I'm going to hear your opinion on this, is that I feel the black family hasn't had the same opportunity as other families or races of families to teach family first.
Yeah.
Because through history, we couldn't teach family first.
Right.
Because at any given time, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, somebody could come snatch you away and send you to another family.
Right.
So the brain has to learn to adapt to this type of stress in order to be able to still survive and thrive. Like Darwin's theory of evolution is not survival of the fittest, it's survival of the most adaptive. Right? So I believe that some of our behaviors adapted to being able to, under stress, being able to be separated from the family and move on.
Right.
I think that amongst other pressure points that can facilitate this, financial, however you feel the established role as the black man in their family makes it potentially easier for black men to separate from the family while the child and stuff is so young, as opposed to what other races do.
Right.
What do you think about that?
I think it's absolutely right. When you look at the history of America, when you look at the systemic policies that were strictly, to pull black men out of the homes, and black women unfortunately having to adapt and just, do what they do and pull through like they always do, it has caused that sort of, lagging between when you want to compare. Or
even making it easier.
Yeah.
Because we can have certain traits.
Right.
That doesn't mean that you're going to get this type of disease or diabetes, but if you have the higher amount of that trait, it increases the likelihood under certain circumstances.
Absolutely.
I think we have higher I don't think our nurturing gene as black men, at least in the United States, African American men, has been able to evolve at the same rate as other races.
Right.
Because we weren't allowed to actually be able to be that inside a family unit for generations.
Right. And it's caused this unfortunate divisiveness between black men and black women, unfortunately, I think. And when we really need to realize we're on the same team, because we really rely on one another. Like
Willie Lynch is like, they don't want us to know we're on the same team.
They didn't want us to know that. It was intentional, and it's kind of working out, unfortunately, until we have these conversations and we bring communities together, and we need to realize that we actually need one another. Then it's going to continue to play out as Willie Lynch created or written.
And even now, so much. They can still have plausible deniability. They can say, nah, it's all in your mind. You need to stop blaming the past.
No.
It's not real. they put a system together,
Yeah.
just like system we run our funnels.
Right.
You build everything out, you get it going, you click that free thing,
Right.
And now everything happens automatic. Now they can sit back and say, no, we ain't doing that.
Right.
You can be president, you
Right.
can do this, you can do that. Listen,
Right.
it's all your fault now.
Right.
And they even get us to turn on ourselves. They get the
Right.
black women to blame the black men. We get the black men to blame the black women.
And then
Willie Lynch.
what do we solve? Right.
We do less than solve. We create separation
Right.
that we know shouldn't be there.
Right. Right, exactly. And you know, it goes back to, like, again, in utero, and you think about the trauma and the stress that we've endured as Black people, and then also think about what that does to the brain, you know?
Yes.
A brain for a male, I think, doesn't fully develop till 25. Now, if
25 to 28.
25 to 28. Now, if that man has been exposed to so much trauma and stress, that brain won't ever fully even develop. So
And that's
that
just from
frontal
a
region,
physical brain,
right?
not even maturational.
Exactly.
Because it might take 45.
Exactly. So then we think about what the frontal lobe is associated with. It's associated with judgment, reasoning. So that individual can't even make those appropriate judgment and reasoning. And then we're wondering why. It's because of everything that has happened.
And I love that you said it. And this is why I talk about not just the psychology, but understanding our body.
Right.
Because the brain is the body. The
Right.
mind is part of the psyche.
Right.
Understanding that they can't do certain things
Right.
because they don't have the cognitive development
Exactly.
to even be able to do it.
Exactly.
You know, I don't know why I did that. At certain ages, yes, they really don't know
They don't.
why.
Right.
But guess what? In the psychological fields, they know this stuff.
Right.
Tons of studies.
Right.
This is not theoretical woo-woo.
No, this is real.
They
Like, the
know
data
this.
shows it. We can look at MRI. We can do it. We can look at it and we see this.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the unresolved trauma. Right.
Yeah.
And that's how trauma plays out. It can be 30 years later and you still have that experience. You still have that physical experience to whatever that stimuli is. And you don't even know it because you haven't made that association. You haven't come to therapy, or you haven't done the work to really make that association for yourself and resolve that, or make peace with it, or make amends with it, whatever your particular goal is. But that's how trauma plays out. And you can, I mean, by that example alone, you see how generational that from slavery up until now as Black people, that we can still have these struggles, you know,